First, I want to start off with basically, what are your kidneys? You know, you're having difficulty with your kidneys functioning. What are they? Where are they? And kind of go from there and to where you're at right now with dialysis. Okay, so I have this little picture here that shows where your kidneys are. We have two of them, right? And they're on their back sides on either side of our spine. Now, they have jobs to do, right? First job is basically helping to balance the minerals and chemicals and things like that in your blood, in your system. It gets, you know, kind of signaled to say, okay, we have too much potassium, phosphorus, for those examples that you guys know. It gets a signal and says we need to get rid of it. We need to flush it out of the body because we have enough. So it also helps to filter the blood. And in this little guy, this shows the kidney close up, right? Right here, it shows the kidney from the blood. It goes into the kidney. And in this little section here, we have millions of nephrons, okay? And in there is actually where the filtering happens. And once that happens, you know, it accumulates the different minerals, chemicals, waste products, and excess fluid that you have. And it stores it all and then takes it to the bladder, and that's where we eliminate it. And that's why we go to the bathroom, all right? So that's our body's natural way to just create a balance within yourself and help your body work right. Okay, so it's very important. The other jobs that it has are to helps control your blood pressure. It helps to create red blood cells, and it helps to maintain strong bones, right? So that's the basic kind of anatomy lesson there and how it's working. So what happens when it's not working right? Then we categorize it into 5 stages. And if you may have heard this, you'll know it's stage 1, kidney disease stage 1. That is a less severe. That's just, you know, having a little bit of kind of red flags happening. And it progresses to stage 5. Stage 5 is where you usually go on dialysis, right? And that is where the dialysis is basically a kidney on the outside, right? I think you guys refer to it like as a machine, right? You know the machine. It has a crazy name that I can't even say. Every time I say it, I mess it up. Dialyzer. That's what it's called. We'll call it the machine. Yeah. I like that one better. Yeah. So basically that works as a kidney on your outside. So it takes the blood out of your body, filters it, and then brings it back in, right? And it takes away the waste products, takes away the fluids, and brings your blood back to you. Unfortunately, it does not work as good as your kidneys do. Right? So you need help with your diet, and that's where the renal diet comes in. So today we're going to talk about kind of kidney-friendly foods, okay? And it's going to touch on the principles of what a renal diabetic diet would be, okay? And that right here we see, basically you want to minimize your intake of sodium, potassium, phosphorus, sugar, right? And that kind of plays into the diabetes. And then fluids, okay? And then we also want to increase our protein. So our protein, we need extra protein because the machine gets rid of some of it. It takes some of it by accident, you know, it doesn't mean to, but you lose some of it there. So you need to replenish it and maintain that muscle strength and whatnot, okay? So again, remember, the kidney's job is to balance those nutrients, these minerals, so that your body works correctly. Because the phosphorus, the potassium, they have specific jobs in your body. So if those become elevated, things start getting thrown out of whack, okay? Renal means kidney. So anytime you hear that word, you know they're talking about your kidneys. Another word that you might not hear as often is, well, it's kind of taken from it, but you see a nephrologist, right? So nephrologist also means for the kidney. And then you may take Nepro, which is like a Ensure type of a product, a shake. It's Nepro, that means kidney. It's for the kidneys. And then you may take vitamins, certain supplements that are specific for kidney patients that are called Nepro caps, right? So that's kind of another term that means kidney. So now you know that those kind of all tie in to your kidneys. Kidney-friendly eating tips. Again, I'm trying to make this as simple, straightforward as it can be, okay? Taking into all of these points, right? We want to try to keep these low, keep those high. I created 6 tips. So if you follow these, it will make it a little bit easier for you, okay? There's still those decisions and the grocery shopping and all those other things that are a little bit difficult, but this will help you. Okay, number 1 is you want to eat regular, consistent meals and snacks. That means eating every 4 to 6 hours. That is for your diabetes, for your blood sugar control, and also being comfortable. Because if you overeat, sometimes it makes you uncomfortable, right? Or not eating, you know, skipping meals. It's just not good for your body. You need that constant fuel. Okay, number 2, limit prepackaged and processed foods. This is an example. Okay, we have hot dogs. We have corned beef hash. You have 1,230 milligrams of sodium. That's almost your day's worth. That's like half a day's worth, right, in that one serving. In one serving, one meal. You have, you know, 3 other meals to eat still in 1 cup. And then what are you having with it? Are you going to have toast with it? Are you going to have an egg with it? So it all kind of adds up, and it adds up fast when you start using processed foods. Yeah, any meat that's in a package, anything that you put in the microwave to cook it. So even frozen dinners, even those, they're loaded with sodium. And one thing, the prepackaged foods, there is additives being included in those to preserve them. And phosphorus and potassium have a lot of different jobs to do. So they're added for so many different reasons that they're in a lot of our foods. Sometimes when it's titled enriched. This is basically potassium. Potassium chloride is what's been replaced from the sodium. So things like this, where you think it's low salt, they've added in that potassium to give it the salty flavor. So, you know, that's kind of, they're all just different elements, different compounds. They're very small. Okay, so again, the prepackaged foods, you're opening up a door, okay, and it's usually salt and then those additives that are going to be in there. So you got to read those food labels. And I tell you, when I did the shopping today, I was reading every single food label, and it changes from one to the next. You know, just sour cream. The sour cream, this one does not have a potassium additive, but the Publix brand did. So you think it's kind of like a safe spot. They tell me I can have low-fat sour cream, and you grab one, but one has potassium when the other one doesn't. All right, so number 3. This is the tricky one. Know your high potassium foods and choose low potassium foods instead. Okay, so I created that placemat that you have there. Okay, so and here's it, you know, enlarged. Like I said before, you know, these things, they're in our body, they have jobs to do, right? It's just they need to stay at a nice level, nice balanced level so that your body works correctly. If something's higher than something else, then, you know, it just throws your body all off. So potassium is a mineral that controls nerve and muscle function. So one of our most important muscles is our heart. So if our potassium is getting too high, it can throw our heartbeat off, right? And also think about it, if you get like a Charlie horse, what do they say is good for that? Potassium, right? Think back when, you know, maybe you're running or, you know, something happens, you get a leg cramp. So, you know, that it has good things, but unfortunately right now it's something you have to be careful of. So it's monitored just because of that. It can throw off your heartbeat. It can cause some complications. Recommended lab value is on there also. It's 3.5 to 5.5. That's the range that when they take your blood, they're looking to see if you are in that range. If you're elevated, they're going to tell you you need to be careful of your potassium level. The red, stop, right? These are the foods that are high. The green are go. That's, you know, those are kind of your safer foods to go towards. The top row shows your fruit. Second row shows your vegetables. The third row is everything else, basically, that fits into there. Fruits, this is a serving. of fruit. So at the dialysis center, if you've met with the dietitian, they typically will go over your diet and they'll give you a diet prescription. Have you all received one of those from them? Basically, it breaks down your diet and tells you how many fruits, how many vegetables, how many ounces of protein, how many grains to have per day. And then they give you the list of food to pull from. So, but basically, this is what they're telling you. When they say 2 servings of fruit, they're telling you 2 of these. So total of this per day. Okay, usually, it's about 2 servings of fruit, 3 servings of vegetables, and then your protein will be higher than that, but that kind of starts it off. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through, because any low potassium food, if you eat too much of it, becomes high, right? Because you're taking in those low amounts, but you're taking in a lot of them. So, it kind of sabotages what you're trying to do. So I want to focus here where we have the berries, the grapes. Canned fruit is a little bit lower than the fresh fruit. So you want to get that in juice or the no sugar added and drain it, okay? So especially the pears. Pears, you want to get those canned. Grapefruit, another tricky thing, oranges. Oranges are high in potassium, right? So we stay away from the oranges, orange juice. The other citrus fruit is okay. Okay, so we have the lemons, limes, grapefruit, and the little cuties, the little mandarin ones. Those are okay. When your blood sugar is getting low, you take in 4 ounces of juice. That's it. 3 glucose tabs, right? Or 3 candies, like a Lifesaver or so. Just make sure you're not doing the sugar-free. Sometimes we make a mistake and do a sugar-free candy, trying to raise our blood sugar. We need the sugar. We need that, just quick little bit going in. Okay, so other goes are the lettuce, the summer squash, zucchini, cauliflower. Cauliflower is low, broccoli is high. Okay, bell peppers, snap peas, cooked carrots. Remember that, cooked carrots are okay. Raw ones are going to be high. Then you have your green beans, celery, asparagus, onions, cabbage, cucumbers, eggplant, okra. Those are all foods that are low that you can include in your diet. We want to stay with fresh meat. Fresh and frozen meats are best rather than from a can or processed. Unsalted crackers, the saltine-like crackers, those are a little bit better. I'm telling you the kind of safe ones, ones that I've looked at and I know that these are safe for you to have. There's no additives in them. I've looked at the labels. Unsalted pretzels, popcorn, you want to get the lowest sodium one, right? And you want to get the light one. Okay, and then we have our white grains, right? White pasta, white rice, the bread, the grits. It kind of goes opposite from what you've always been taught about doing the whole grains. But again, it's just because of those things that have been added into them. Now, if you do want something sweet, you can do the hard candies. All right, you have things like this. And then we have the sugar-free. So again, this would not raise your blood sugar, but it would give you something sweet. So that would be better than chocolate. Basically, these foods are combining. They're combining the phosphorus and the potassium for you. So it's not one, it's not one section's potassium, one section is phosphorus. It's all inclusive, okay? So when we go to the phosphorus, which is our next point 4 is to know our high phosphorus foods and to choose the alternative low ones. This one, you follow it here. You have stop in red, and it has different categories. So you have your milk, your cheese, yogurt, and cream-based soups, things to replace it with, okay? So we have our soy milk or rice milk, the coffee creamers, the sour cream, Cool Whip, butter, margarine, and the light cream cheese. So those are things that are a little bit lower. They may have some, right, because it's an additive to our food, but it's also naturally occurring. So we just need to find the ones that are lower. So these are lower replacements for the high ones. If you go lower with it, then it's a little bit safer of that buffer area, where if you do a little bit too much, it's not so detrimental to that level going up. Your whole grains, again, what we talked about with the brown, you know, getting away from the brown bread and pastas and rice and going to the white. So we have these options here, the Chex, rice Chex. You could do corn Chex, Rice Krispie, Special K, and that would be instead of the Raisin Bran. Okay, so this, because it has the dried fruit and the whole grain in there. Beans, peas, and corns. I put in some of the fruits and vegetables that are on the table. The same ones that we already covered for the potassium. They're the same. They're low over there. They're safe also. We have the processed lunch meats. You want to go with the fresh or frozen. Dark sodas. The Coke. We want to go away from the Cokes, Dr. Pepper, things like that, and replace them with water is always best. You have your 7-Up, Canada Dry, the ginger ale. There is a root beer that is a little bit safer. It's the A&W. It doesn't have the additive into it, but just be cautious with that. And then homemade lemonade. Okay, then you have your ice cream, chocolate, corn chips, Cheetos, cheese curls, nuts, and nut butters. These are some replacement kind of snacks to have. So you have the sherbet or sorbet, jelly, Jell-O, the pretzels again with no salt added, popcorn, popsicles, the hard candies, gumdrops, jelly beans, things like that. And then the sugar-free would be better for your blood sugar.
So with a Diet Coke, that's a no-no?
Mm-hmm, no-no. Yep. Any of those dark sodas, you have to be very careful. If you look, I got you those magnifying glasses because sometimes I want you to read the label to see what I was looking at. If you look here, you look on the label, and is it right here? This is the ingredients. And it has, right down here, has phosphoric acid. Again, when it's processed, you're opening up that door to the additives being in. So they have added phosphorus in here where, and it's the same thing for diet. They just didn't have it where I went. There's no phosphorus or the potassium. Okay, so you gotta read the label. If you're gonna open that door, you gotta read the label to make sure. Number 5, control your portions. That's just what we're talking about is once you kind of understand what you're doing there, you can dabble a little bit, have small portions, but you got to make sure that you're in that range of that diet prescription that the dietitian at the facility gave you, and knowing that fruits and vegetables are about this for a serving. When you're cooking, you're trying to be careful of the fat that you're adding to your food, so you can use the spray, you can use olive oil. You want to try to stay away from the butter and the shortening. Oh, perfect. So he has a canola oil, which is also a vegetable-based one, so that's really good. This will replace the butter, okay? And that will help with your fat intake also. The grits, again, this is a grit. This is grits that do not have the additives of the phosphorus and potassium in there. Stop hitting it. We have the saltines here, the unsalted saltines. The cereal, if you come and have cereal here, they have the Rice Krispie, they have, what was it, Special K. They also have the Raisin Bran. So we know, stay away from the Raisin Bran, right? Nope, no Cheerios. The Special K, Corn Chex, and Rice Chex, Rice Krispies. Some juice is okay. The thing to remember is you're also, like we talked about, the fluids. You're having to watch your fluids, right? Because the fluids are adding up between each time that you go and have to have your treatment done. So sometimes you're on that fluid restriction. So always remember, if it's liquid at room temperature, that counts. That counts as a fluid. Okay, so like ice cream, the popsicles, things like that, Jell-O, watermelon, 1 cup of watermelon is equal to ½ cup of juice. Okay, so those are kind of things that you have to add into that. So if you're on like a 32 ounce, that's going to be added in. Other things to keep in mind are biscuits, things like that. Biscuits, they're white, but they have all the additives in there. Okay, and the pancake mixes, things like that, you have to be real cautious with. So again, just the more simple it is, you know, less processed, the safer it is for you, because then you're not worried about all those additives that you're trying to figure out. You can look on the labels on some products, not all the products, and you can see, again, you can look at the ingredients to see if something's been added. But now every once in a while, they will put on the phosphorus on the bottom on the percentage, okay? That's very, very seldom. It does not happen that often, unfortunately. And then they'll have the potassium. This one doesn't have it. They'll have the potassium by the sodium up in the bold, but that will tell you a certain number. But that happens not very often. It's very seldom, but it's something to kind of keep an eye on. Is you want that, you know, below, like the potassium I think is 120. Let me get my numbers straight. Like a middle potassium food is 120. Okay, so that's what you want it below. The lower, the better. The phosphorus, when it's at 15%, that's a high one. So this one, I want to just point this one out. This is rice milk. This can be your milk replacement. This one, I would recommend over this one. And the only difference is enriched. It's enriched. So it has those things that it wouldn't normally have in there, which is the potassium and the phosphorus. It puts it in there. Okay, so that you can see by the label. You can read them in there. This one shows the phosphorus level at 15%, which means it's a high phosphorus food. Okay, so this is pretty much the same as drinking a glass of milk. Okay, this one does not have it in, and it doesn't list the percentage.
Hold them together for me.
Yeah, classic is the word, usually classic, original. Bouillon. Okay, we have 3 choices here. Let's take the chicken. We have chicken unsalted, okay? Then we have, so pretend you're at the store and you're trying to figure out what to make a soup with. You have this here that's already made for you, just the liquid. You have sodium free of bouillon like cubes. And then you have bouillon cubes regular, just the regular ones. Now, if you want just the bouillon cube, you might grab this. But remember, sometimes when they take out the sodium, they're putting in the potassium. Okay, so this one will be a high potassium food. They're replacing it. So this falls into the same category here. This one's going to be high in the sodium. So something like this will be better.
So
this is a little bit better for you.
Potassium is an additive?
It's used as an additive, yeah. It's naturally occurring in food. Both phosphorus and potassium are naturally occurring in foods, but they're also used as additives.